Here's the honest truth. Making thumbnails for YouTube videos is really, really hard. If you're like me, you've probably watched a tutorial on how to make better or more clickable thumbnails from literally everyone and their mom at this point. Before you know it, making thumbnails becomes the most frustrating part of making videos. And that's not even considering whether all that trouble is even getting your videos any more views. And I'll bet that all too often, it's not. So today I'm going to share with you how I completely changed the way that I make thumbnails for my videos, and how designing thumbnails has gone from something I dreaded doing to one of my favorite parts of being a YouTuber. I'll even show you a breakdown of how I designed my favorite thumbnail I've ever made, which also just so happens to belong to my most popular video. So first, let's really address the problem. Why does making thumbnails suck? I used to think it was because I didn't know the first thing about the software or graphic design, and that once I learned what I was doing, it would be fun and easy. And I was wrong. The real reason I think thumbnails suck is that they often just feel fake, you know? I mean, at this point, I feel like most creators are just as sick of making the dumbass faces as most viewers are of seeing them. I showed my girlfriend my old channel the other day, and she literally did like the Farquaad point and laugh meme at me. I guess it really wasn't a meme, she just pointed and laughed at me. My point is that even if we try to avoid clickbaiting or making a thumbnail that's inauthentic to the video we're trying to make, if we start jumping through all these hoops and checking all these boxes for no other reasons than this will get the video more views or do better in the algorithm or whatever nonsense, then that's when an inherent inauthenticity is going to creep in. And that works for some people, and some people are okay with that. And I'm not like making a moral judgment on those people, because it can be a useful skill if you have to work in, you know, customer service, for example. If you've ever worked in customer service, you know how draining it can be to have to wear that mask day after day. So then how do we actually go about feeling good about the thumbnails we make for our videos? Well, what do you think the difference is, the difference in mindset and job satisfaction between a waiter that works at a chain restaurant whose manager requires him to say, hey, can I interest anyone in a bloomin' shamrock, whatever the fuck, that he knows someone in the kitchen is just gonna take from the freezer and throw into the microwave, versus a waitress who works at a high-end place where she loves the food, she knows it's good, the menu speaks for itself, she hears at least once a night, oh, hey, you took great care of us, and tell the kitchen that it's the best meal we've had in ages or whatever. Which one of those do you think hates his job? And which one do you think is excited to go to work? And I mean, shit, even if the pay were the same, which would you prefer to be? And when you really start to look at your YouTube journey with a kind of the same perspective, it not only changes the way you cook up your videos, but also the way you serve them to your audience with your thumbnails, right? So to put it more simply, it's okay to try and make thumbnails that will get people to click on your videos, but instead of treating the video as the video and the thumbnail as the packaging, focus on making the thumbnail an integral part of your video, not as a product, but your video as a form of expressing yourself, as a form of expressing something meaningful to you, even if it's just the cherry on top. If you design a thumbnail that's oozing with your excitement and your enthusiasm and your authenticity, it may even attract more viewership to the video. So when you sit down and make a thumbnail, think about, how can I make this look cool? How can I show people what emotions, what roller coaster I'm gonna take them on if they decide to watch my shit? Not what boxes do I have to check to make this clickable onto the algorithm or whatever. So now let's talk about the actual changes I've used to apply that new philosophy to my thumbnails. First, I started making the thumbnail first, before I ever opened a script or started recording for a video. I know that's probably advice you might have heard elsewhere, but usually the reason I've heard is that you don't want to have the thumbnail be an afterthought. You don't want to rush past making it just because you're ready to post the video already. And while sometimes it was a case of me rushing it out, really the problem was that when I would wait to make a thumbnail until the day that the video was supposed to go out, I would often get frustrated trying to analyze my own work and retroactively decide why it was worth watching. I'd sometimes even realize too late that my video was a terrible idea in the first place and impossible to convey in a simple image. There wasn't any emotion to share, no sundae to put the cherry on. Now when I come up with a video, I usually will make the thumbnail the first thing I do, which helps me shape what I really want the focus of the video to be, what emotions I want to evoke, and that often gets me excited to start working on the rest of the video and helps me keep my motivation pushing throughout the project. Second, I started to shape my thumbnails and really even my video ideas at their core around not what the video is like generally about, but what makes it different to every other video on the platform. For example, if I commission somebody without showing them the video to make a thumbnail for the video titled, "You Should Be a YouTuber," not one of them would put Sonic the Hedgehog on it. And why did I put Sonic on mine? Because I decided for that video, I was going to talk about my experience on this platform while playing my go-to comfort game. And lastly, I might have already said this a ton in this video already, but I really can't stress enough how important the emotion backing your thumbnail is. When you look at it, does it make you excited? Is it funny? Is it disgusting? What does it make you feel? And does the video evoke the same feeling? And if not, why not? Remember, the goal of the thumbnail is not to sell the video, but it's not to convince someone who wouldn't watch your video that they're wrong. It's to give the potential viewer a taste, a single frame, and then to say, if you want more of that, here's where you click, right? Now let's talk about software. A lot of people ask, oh, do I need Photoshop? What software do I use? And truly, it does not matter. You can shell out all that money for Photoshop. You can also use a rather poorly named free program called GIMP. For my thumbnails, I'm actually usually using any combination of GIMP, Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, and actually even my video editing program, DaVinci Resolve, which is also free. But I've also had friends be successful just using the free version of Canva. My point is, look at some of these programs and pick one if you haven't already, but then take the time to learn the ins and outs and how to get it to do what you need it to do to make what you want to make with it. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. I wish I had the time in this video to go through all the different software I use, what tools I use in them and all that, but since that would take hours and it just ain't that kind of video, I instead hooked y'all up with a sweet deal with today's sponsor, Skillshare. If you don't already know, Skillshare is the world's largest online learning community by creatives for creatives, where you can learn from industry experts in videography, graphic design, illustration, animation, or whatever creative pursuit you can think of. I've been looking to step up how I incorporate sprite art in my thumbnails lately, so I've been cutting my teeth on this class for Sprite, which is a program I had initially given up on using when I couldn't figure out how it worked. Speaking of that, I also recently learned that Skillshare has revamped their entire class system so that you can find classes about specific programs and software much easier than you could before, which is when I knew that they would be the perfect sponsor for this video. So whether you're using Photoshop or Affinity Photo or GIMP or any other software, you're gonna be able to find the class for you. So if you're like me and you're always looking to learn a new skill or even just learn something new about the tools in your creative toolbox, the first 500 people to use my link at the top of the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So now I've opened up Affinity Photo so that I can take you through kind of my thought process when it came to creating this thumbnail, which is part of the video that I'm probably most proud of in really my entire career. And not just because it has more views than any other video I've ever published, but because it really meant something to me and really says something I think is important. And this was really the project that I started incorporating a lot of the changes we've been talking about over the course of this video. So let's go through it. So again, the title of this video is You Should Be a YouTuber / Artist / Creator. And it's about kind of my journey as a creator on YouTube and what that's been like, but really about the kind of the negative aspects of that, but why I continue to be a creator today and why I think you should continue to be a creator in spite of whatever obstacles you might be facing. So it's ultimately a video that is meant to be hopeful and kind of inspiring in a way. And I mean, what's more hopeful and inspiring than Sonic? So I went ahead and played Sonic during the video. And so I wanted to incorporate Sonic into the thumbnail as well. So I started by grabbing the background from Green Hill Zone. It's the most iconic Sonic level, so it had to be the one I chose. I got the background art from a website called Spriter's Resource. It's a really handy website for picking up sprites from just about any game you can think of. And for some added detail, I went ahead and got rid of the blue in the sky and actually replaced it with a gradient from light blue to dark blue just to give it a little bit of extra depth. Then since I knew we were going to be talking about YouTube, I went ahead and pulled in the YouTube logo and went ahead and just put it center stage because I knew it was going to be the focus of the video. You've probably heard a thing or two about color theory, so it's worth noting that I put the background of Green Hill Zone in such a way to where the green trees were going to be on either side of the YouTube logo so that the green from Green Hill Zone would be there to contrast the red from the YouTube logo. Then I went ahead and brought in the blue man himself, put him off to the side here, and then I went ahead and added the text. And I wanted something that felt a little bit like a call to action, but also a little bit kind of empowering and inspiring. Now, something I love about Affinity Photo is that you've got this little preview window down in the bottom right in this thing called the navigator. This kind of shows you what your thumbnail is going to look like when it actually becomes a thumbnail on a YouTube video. And so right now what I'm noticing is that Sonic kind of blends in with the background. All the elements are kind of blending in together. The words are blending in with the clouds. Everything just kind of looks like a mess right now, and it's just kind of one kind of blast of color instead of having some clearly defined elements. And so even though I would say the thumbnail is 95% of the way there, it's this last 5% of details that are really going to make the difference. I started by adding a vignette, which is kind of like a reverse spotlight effect. It just kind of adds a dark mask around the edges of the image. It helps Sonic stick out from the background, but it also brings the focus inward toward the YouTube logo. From there, I added an additional shadow to the YouTube logo and to Sonic. And that helps Sonic to be more defined from the background, but also more defined from the YouTube logo. Then finally, I added an outline and shadow to the text to help it stick out from the background, as well as change the color of the word now to yellow. Now, yellow is a good highlight color because, I mean, like, there's a reason that highlighters are yellow, right? Like, your eyes are kind of drawn to it more than other colors. It's the brightest color in a way. I also like that nothing else is yellow in this entire picture. And what's cool is the composition of having Sonic in the corner here and then having the highlighted word be in the corner here is that we get this almost like triangle between Sonic and the word, and we have the forward motion of Sonic going forward, kind of pushing his fist upward into the air, as well as of course, the play button from the YouTube logo. And we get just this energy in the image kind of moving forward and moving up. And so the overall composition is able to channel kind of the upward momentum that we want the video to carry, right? And without having to put one of those cheesy like YouTube graphs on that's like, you're here, you want to be here, so you got to do this to get that. We got that same effect and that same emotion without having to be cringe. So you'll see this thumbnail really kind of follows some of the really kind of common advice you'd hear for thumbnails. You know, you have kind of just a few elements to focus on. You don't have a whole lot of words. You got everything kind of clear. You use drop shadows. You got good amount of contrast, but it's not gimmicky. It's not just crazy in your face, over the top. I'd argue it communicates exactly what the video is about and what kind of energy the video conveys, and no more and no less. And it was really fun to make, and it's really fun to look at. I appreciate the image. I like looking at this thumbnail, me personally. And now when I pull up my channel and I look at all of my videos, I'm proud of what they look like. And I'm proud of the thumbnails that I'm able to showcase them with instead of that old channel. Okay, and it helps that more people are watching them. I'm guilty. You caught me. I can't deny it. And that's basically it. That's practically how I format all my thumbnails these days, with a focus on doing something new and fun and creative with each design. And whether or not that format works for your videos, I hope that if you apply the philosophy I've shared with you about making thumbnails fun, that you'll find that it makes for a much more satisfying production process for your channel. A big thank you to the Neat Club for making these videos possible. And if you want to find out how I make video editing something to enjoy instead of something to dread, go ahead and check out this video where I show you how to do just that. Catch you over there.